welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. January transfer window is pretty much finished. A couple of hours left. We made a couple of signings, got quite a lot of the deadwood out. Not as much of the deadwood as we need, but fairly good window in my book, I think. Got three great guests who are going to be talking about that and much, much more besides. So let's go through. Coach Mac now. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thanks for having us on. Sorry for the background
No
noise. I'm making a cup of tea so I can get settled while we have our great debate.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's on YouTube, so you never know what we're going to find on there. Looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting to have a chat and talk about what's been going on.
Excellent. Yeah, and Mark as well. How you doing, Mark?
Good, mate. Pleasure to be back on. Thanks for inviting me. Looking forward to it.
No problem. Welcome as always. Emotion podcast. You want to talk about that or?
Not really. Do you, Mac?
It's too emotional.
They know how to sell this, don't they? They know how to sell this.
We're not bothered.
Mark,
Mac, some of the greatest promoters of our time. They Raw Emotion podcast. Go wherever you get your podcast, you can find that there.
Oh, wonderful.
And last but not least, Sam from Paxton Road TV. Been on here a few times. How you doing, Sam?
Very well, thank you. Just doing the old transfer deadline day as well on Paxton Road. So, yes, I'm your one and only guest appearance I'm doing tonight. So, yes, I feel honoured.
Absolutely honoured. Paxton Road TV. A lot of people know all about Paxton Road TV, but in case some people don't, where can they find that?
They can find us on YouTube, Paxton Road TV. Just put in a name and we're there. We're currently on streaming now. So a 5-hour marathon session that started at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and I was just on with Darius, Don and Jack as well. Great channel that. So make sure you head over there, hit like, hit subscribe. Blue Podcast, how you doing, buddy? Always a subscriber here and hitting the likes and comments. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe. All helps the channel grow. 176 subscribers, so it'd be great if I could get to 200 before the start of the next game. But let's crack into it. Before we start talking about Spurs, just a quick word. It's great to see Eriksen back. We were interested in him a little bit as well. I'm a little bit about it. He's going to be playing every game for Brentford, and based on what happened to him. But if he can stay fit and stay healthy, great to have him back. But it's not for us because he's the type of player that we could do with. But Mac, do you think it's a good move? It's fairly risky for Brentford, maybe not so much for Eriksen. It'd be interesting what his wife thinks about it. But if everything goes well.
I'll be honest, mate. He'll know himself whether he's got it in him to still be playing at the highest level. They say trust your own body. You know, it'll tell you. And I'm sure if he feels anything a little bit untoward and dodgy, then you know he'll pull himself away. I think it's a fantastic signing for Brentford. I am gutted he hasn't come back to Tottenham. I did kind of predict wrongly, so no longer on the ITK tier system now that he was going to come back. It's a bit of a tough one for me because I can see him. It's a bit like Dele at Everton. You know, I can see them coming back to Tottenham and playing us and having man of the match performances and, you know, absolutely playing out of their skins. You know, Dele, don't get me wrong, I'm not sad that he's gone. It's about time. But Eriksen, yeah, I'm glad he's back. But I'd have preferred him in Lily White than Brentford Red.
Yeah, and Sam, would you have wanted him back at Tottenham, or do you think it's a bit risky?
No, I just think the way
do you think he should move on?
In terms of ability of a player, obviously we haven't replaced him, but I just think that race had run. He'd probably got to the end of his shelf life at Spurs. He did want to move on. You know, he'd given everything. We kept him for an extra season. He did what he needed to do. Went away. You know, kind of got within that inter squad. Then obviously what happened at the Euros happened. You know, it was. I just think as that from a player's perspective, when you've had something like that, which is almost, I know it wasn't quite a near-death experience, but it was so shocking to see what was on TV. Everybody kind of felt, wow, is he going to make it? Whatever. I just think that's going to take its toll long-term on him. Not to say that he's going to not be able to play, but I just think that mental side of things, you know, sportsmen need to have that real sports mentality, and maybe a little bit may have lost. Time will tell, but I just don't know if Spurs would have taken that chance to get him back. Insurance and all the rest of it, I don't know how that would have worked. So good luck to him. I would like to see him really do well at Brentford. But I just think for the time that he spent with us and just looking at all of that put together, I think it was probably the right decision in us not going back for him, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see him back, and hopefully he can. I did see a Brentford fan on TV say, "So we can score from free kicks and corners now because he's great at free kicks and corners." No, he's not.
No, he's not.
In the chat, Wayne, how you doing, Wayne? Always support of all Spurs channels. And Scott M, how you doing, Scott? Have to trust the doctors that would have cleared him over what I know. We could use a lot of his skills here. Best of luck to him at Brentford, absolutely. But Mark, we didn't sign him, but we have got two. Hopefully, I won't butcher the names or misspell the names. Kulusevski and Bentacur.
Bentacur, I think he is.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's my first error. Thank you, Sam. But yeah, from what I know of them, I don't know a huge amount, but Bentacur is a primarily defensive midfielder, both-footed, good at keeping the ball, which we've missed out on a lot recently. Short dribble, so he sounds similar to Ndombele. He's obviously got a long way to go before he's even mentioned in the same breath as being anywhere near as good as him. Kulusevski can play all across the forward line. I did my research was done by going on Google Images, looking at Kulusevski Football Manager 2022. It seems to be he's got good passing and good vision. So I'm hoping he's the playmaker that I've been crying out for years. Relatively cheap, Bentacur, 19 euros, I think. Kulusevski loan with a view to buy, but good business in the buying front for you.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know a great deal. Funny enough, mate, the first time I heard of Kulusevski was from Championship Manager. Because I got sacked by Tottenham and ended up getting the job at Man City, and he was already there, and I'd never heard of him. This was a couple of seasons ago. And he was shit hot on that. And from that, because I just see this little ginger guy running around on the screen. And then from that, I started looking into this guy. I was like, because he was so good on it. And obviously, I seen it was at Juve. So I've watched him a few times, and I've always been impressed, mate. And he was at the Euros. He didn't start. I think he must have been injured, or he may have even had COVID during the. I think he had COVID actually during the start of the Euro, so he wasn't in their team to begin with. Because I picked him in my dream team. I'm cursed with that, but we won't go there. But yeah, I think he's a good player, mate. I really like him. I think he's built for the Premiership. I think he'll do well in the Premier League. And it hasn't cost us anything at the minute, is it? I think it's an obligation to buy if he hits certain things, appearances. What I'm pleased about, mate, is these two players. I'm hoping are committed players where we haven't come on to the ones that have left, but I when we do come on to that, I don't think they're committed players. So this is why I didn't mind Lamela. I know Lamela was very Marmite with people, but I know I didn't mind him. I think you were the same, Chris, because I know what he lacked in ability, he would always try his best, and I can forgive a lack of ability if a player is giving everything he's got. That's all I want to see from anyone. That's all you can do. If you give everything you've got, then that's me as a fan. That's what I want to see. So as long as they come in and do that, I'm happy, and I think it's good business personally.
Yeah, and Scott M says here, Mac, underwhelming signings. That's what we have to expect, I guess. Not sure they bring the skills we need, but I hope they work out well. I think they do bring in the skills we need. After slightly disagree, Scott, I think Bentacur keeping the ball is something we've really struggled with. You look at Chelsea, the first leg home, the first half in the first leg, conceded a goal all over us for the rest of that half because we didn't have anyone to keep the ball. And Kulusevski hopefully will be the playmaker. But what do you make of that? Underwhelming signings, but that's what we have to expect. I mean, we were after Diaz, but as soon as Liverpool came in, he said he wanted to go to Liverpool, so it wouldn't have mattered what we'd have bid for him. If Liverpool had bid for him and it got accepted, he's going there. So what do you make of the signings? Underwhelming? Happy?
Are you asking me? Are you asking
Mac?
I'm happy with the signings. I don't think they're underwhelming signings at all because I'll repeat myself from what I said in the previous show that I was on earlier, is that there is a very big gap between reality and where we think or where people think we should be. Don't get me wrong, I agree with what's going on down at the training ground at the moment because we've been screwed over in a lot of ways over many years. But the reality is, you know, we all remember, and I've said it before with you, Chris, and with you, Mark, we used to be mid-table dross, 3-point lane, you know, hoping for a good FA Cup run. And under Pochettino, he gave us a glimpse and a taste of really being sat at the top table for any prolonged period of time. And the reality for me is I think we've got players which are a slight improvements on where we are on what we've got in the two positions that we've gained. People going mental because we haven't signed the players that they believe are the players that they think we need as a club. But everybody on Twitter who says, "Oh, we need this, we need that," don't get me wrong, I have an opinion, but I'm not going to lose my shit if Tottenham don't fill those gaps. Because if I was any good at that, I wouldn't be sat here on a podcast with you guys doing a live stream on deadline day. I'd be sat at Sky Sports. You know, I'd be in the back room of a Premier League football team doing a job. So I think that what we've got is good. Bentacur, he's you know, a lot of people have been quite, well, he's not any better than what we've got. But you look at the Sarri team, Juventus team that he was pivotal in. You know, the way he was able to hold the ball, the way he was able to transition the play from the back line to the forward players. He's from what I recall and what I've seen is he's able to pick out those little passes that we need to set Son off down the right, to set Lucas off down the left, to feed the ball into Kane. You know, so for me, I think he's definitely an upgrade from the left-right, or let's just knock it back to Lloris or Dyer, what we've got in the middle at the moment. So I think he's an upgrade, and I'm happy about that. Kulusevski, you look at his Parma days. He was a striker. He played up front. He scored goals. You know, he played well. And you look at his stats for Parma, and the fact that he can play across all the full front line. I think that you've given yourself an extra striker cover. Obviously, with Bergwijn as well, potentially being used as a striker as well under Conte. So potentially you've got two covers there now for up front, and you've got players that can covers the whole of the front line. You've got, you know, 5-6 players there now. You know, if you include Son, Kane, Lucas Bergwijn. So I think they're two positive signings for us. I think, you know, I do think Bentacur is good, is better than what people are making out. Just because they couldn't make the Juve starting lineup under this manager, that doesn't mean that we've got.
Bentacur was though, mate. Bentacur was playing regularly under this.
Yeah, but Kulusevski wasn't.
Kulusevski wasn't. No.
But people will look at numbers. People will look at appearances. You know, different managers, different styles will create, you know, dips in their numbers, and this is what people look at. They don't look at their track record of what they've done. And playing under the right manager, they could be very, very positive signings. And I agree with Mark. I think Kulusevski is going to be strong. I think he's going to be very positive, and I think he's going to have a very positive impact at Tottenham. And same with Bentacur. It's just how they're going to fit into the strategy. The only slight thing for me is it would have been nice to have had another centre back come in, because, you know, Dyer, Romero +1. I think,
and that's the thing.
But at the same, but I'm not disappointed, because I'm looking forward. I'm thinking, get what they can during January, because January's hard. We all know this. Summer for me is going to be the one where we sit back and see, you know, what Tottenham have planned, what Conte's got planned with Tottenham, and how they look to really bolster that team.
Yeah,
just before Sam goes in, Chris. Sorry, but just want to make the point that this is the thing. Max said there he wants a defender. I've seen people say that they would have wanted a right wing back. I personally would have liked a backup striker. You can't fix everything in the January transfer, and that's the point.
Yeah,
so we've got two players. It's a start, isn't it? So yeah,
they're positive players. So I don't see why it's underwhelming. We've got two positive players, and we've cut out the bad attitude and Deadwood out of that squad.
We'll come to the outs a bit later on, but yeah,
you know, there's going to be, you know, two positive players, an uplift in the dressing room mentality. Sometimes a change is as good as a rest. Do you know what I mean? That could be enough to give us. And you look as well, Arsenal have seriously depleted their ranks. Aubameyang is now agreed a deal to go to Barcelona. The one player I have seen them sign has gone back to them on loan. So and West Ham haven't signed anybody. If anything, people sitting here going, "Oh, top four's fucked. We're done for top four." If anything, I think we're the only team that have put ourselves in a better position to finish fourth.
Yeah. I as well. And just a couple of comments. Sorry, Sam. Darryl is what it is. Scott, just another window to me. You get used to them where we don't address the areas we need addressing. Scott then said we needed passing, creativity, goals and progression in midfield. Brought in a right back who was sideways and backwards passing all the time. Need goals up front. Kulo doesn't have that. That's why I say it doesn't feel the need. And he's replied to Dowell. I agree. Just sad that we have got used to poor windows. My fault thinking under Conte. I mean, I completely disagree with that, Sam. I think we have got creativity with Kulusevski, and if he isn't that playmaker and can play as a striker, that gives Kane license to go a bit further back, be the creative player, and then we've still got a striker up there. And the ball retention, that's something we've been missing for years. Since Ndombele left. I mean, how if the transfer window ended now, literally this second, how would you rate it? Obviously, we'll get to the outs a bit later on in more detail. But like you said, or someone said there, we've got some of the deadwood out. And I think it was me and you, Mark, that was saying on here not that long ago, January, get a couple of players in that we need, and then in the summer, go and get the rest. Sam, for you, the players in, the players out, do you think it's been a good window, albeit right at the last second?
Okay, so based on the whole, you have to look at the whole window in totality, because we all know we have to, as Spurs, have to get players out to get players in. The attitude of some of the players were horrible for some of them. We've seen that. So the idea that we're just going to be able to buy anybody, it wasn't going to work. You have to balance that whole thing up. You have to also, going back on to Mac's point about, maybe these players are a bit underwhelming because they're not currently in the first team or haven't performed to the level for the manager that they've got now. Well, you just have to look at Harry Winks and also, Ben Davies for Conte. They weren't in our plans. Well, they certainly weren't in my plans as players that I would want to rely on going forward. They're now in the fold of Conte. So there's no reason why these two players, if Conte wanted them, and I'm assuming that he did, aren't going to be influenced by him to be able to perform at a better level than they have been currently at Juventus. So I think they're good signings. With any signing that you bring from a league that's not ours, it's going to take a period of time. Very rarely do you see any player just come in and just go crash, bang, wallop, start smashing in goals or do whatever. It takes some time. They're coming from, as I said, Italy. They've got settled. One of them's 21 years of age. So again, a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I'm not quite sure if he's going to be that creative player that we're looking for, just based on some of the stats and based on the type of player that he is. He's a player that likes to run with the ball as opposed to that cute and clever pass. He can make assists. He's got assists, but he's not an Eriksen. So that's one thing to get right. He's a player that's dynamic. He's a player that can carry the ball. He's a player that's going to beat a player. And because of his size and strength, he's not going to get shrugged off like how Brian Hill might have been if he keeps playing for us. He has to go out and do something. Hence the reason for that loan being a good loan for him. I would like to see him stay in the Premiership. But coming back to the two players, I think they're good players to have. Whether or not they are going to be regular first team players, time will tell. I think Kulusevski has probably got more opportunities because I think on that right-hand side, if he's going to play on that right-hand side, we've only currently got Moura. Again, it does depend on the system that's going to be played. He looks more flexible because he could probably play in behind and he could probably play as a second striker as well. So I think that's a good signing for us. Bentacur, again, if you look at his YouTube highlights, looks fantastic in a minute and a half clip. But there's ups and downs. There's a bit of a mixed bag of reactions for the type of player he is. He's sometimes a bit of hit or miss. But again, if Conte wants him, Conte's obviously seen something in him. A young enough player, I think he's 24, 25. So there's time for development. I just hope for these players that we, as fans, give them the time. That's the biggest thing. If we don't give them that time to be able to make mistakes, we don't give them that time to be able to come into a team and just, not just start and like what Steven Bergwijn did. He came in, I think he scored that first in his debut, scored against City, and we were like, Steven Bergwijn, and then he didn't do too much after that, and then we're all on his case. We almost run him out of the club. But Conte wanted this guy because he's seen his skill set. So when a manager recognizes that a player has got that skill set, it's the mentality after that. Get these players' mentality, get it right. Sorry.
People are already writing off these players before they kick the ball.
Yeah.
That's
Terrible. I don't understand that.
It's because people, this is what I said, expectation and the reality. People expect us to be looking at players like, 60, 70, 80, 90 million pound players, right? But that isn't the reality of Tottenham.
No,
that isn't reality. It's never been the reality of Tottenham. But also as well, people are forgetting just what we were and how we were. We were spoiled under Pochettino with what he did.
We overachieved. If you ask me, I think we overachieved and we were further ahead than when Dan Levy thought, right, I get Poch in. I don't think he thought we were going to get to a 2019 Champions League final. I don't think he was thinking we were going to be second twice. I think, wow. But because of that put pressure on him to then do more from us fans. Oh, we're now Champions League. We should be there every year. Well, no, we're not. How many times in our history have we been in Europe to be able to say we're Champions League finalists? It was
a 5-year project, wasn't it, that we achieved in a season and a half, 2 years.
Correct.
It was a 5 years to get to the Champions League. He done it in his second season or whatever.
Yeah,
well ahead of schedule.
And this is the problem we have because, like I said, the reality is that isn't Tottenham. The reality is we never were. We're not. We used to be top 10, not even top 10 sometimes. Right? We've gone to being a regular top 4 team. People have got spoiled by it. People have always believed that we were destined for something great. Pochettino gave us a taste of that. Now we've taken a couple of steps back, and it's got people's backs up. But they need to remember where we were. We're all old enough to remember 3-point lane, FA Cup runs, hoping for finishing 10th, getting in the over by teams like Sheffield Wednesday.
And we've had some really good players in our
fair play league and thinking this is going to get us into Europe. The fair fucking play league.
Yeah. Come on, we've had some really good players at Spurs. So let's not forget that, because a lot of people think, oh, we haven't spent the money, we've had a lot of really good players in Spurs.
Van der Vaart, just to name 2 that we've had over the course of that time. Klinsmann came to Spurs, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? And I know I'm going back to some people who may be watching this or seeing it or whatever. They won't remember sort of Klinsmann days, the Ginola days. But
Gascoigne,
you're right.
Paul Gascoigne.
Gascoigne. We have had some amazing players. The problem is we've just never been able to kick on or do as well as everybody else has done. There's always been those clubs that have got money to spend like it's water. We're not one of those clubs. We never have been one of those clubs.
Never.
And whether we believe that Lewis and Levy have that money stashed in their mattresses somewhere is irrelevant. The fact is that isn't Tottenham. It isn't Tottenham, and it's never been Tottenham.
And so why it is going to be? It never is going to be.
So why all of a sudden now, just because we've had a taste of the top table for a few, 3 or 4 years, do all of a sudden now we demand that we're going in for players like Ndombele? We should be trying to, joking or otherwise. Mbappe is going to be free at the end of next year. Why not try and have a, Messi? Why not try and get Messi? He was free, and I'm sat there going, I get why you're protesting. I understand it. I support it because it's been a lot. It's been 21 years of a hard fucking slog where we're paying stupid money to go watch a football team that are underachieving on many levels. But at the same time, the reality is we shouldn't be up there anyway. We are a top five club, in my opinion. Top 6 club.
Just on the back of that, Max, just think of the teams that we're having to compete with. So you can almost discount Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. I would have almost discounted Man United in that as well, but they've kind of
once upon a time, I'd agreed. Yeah.
So those top 4, if you think about it, to break into that top 4 anyway is almost an impossibility based on the money that those teams spent. So to get in there, what Poch did was an overachievement. So we're competing with the likes of Arsenal, Leicester's. You can throw in like Everton's, Aston Villa's. That's where we are.
And that's where we are. And a comment that was made, which I agreed with. I can't remember if Tommy read it out, but somebody turned around and went, Leicester winning the league probably made it worse for Tottenham fans.
Of course it did.
Because if Leicester can do it on a team that costs about £32 million in total, why the fuck aren't Tottenham doing it? Right? But the sun shines where dogs are some days. You will get that luck. You will get the break, the lucky bounce, whatever. And we had it in our own way. We just we just never won a cup out of it. You know,
how many Leicesters are we going to see? We've seen one in how many years of the Premiership?
Well, I've been
20,
alive
30
nearly 40 years.
Do you know what I'm saying?
It's few and far between, mate. We probably won't see it again.
We won't see it again. Not based on how football's going in terms of the finance side of things. It's not going to happen again. So the fact that it did happen is an outlier. And when you have to look at outliers, you've got to take that into consideration. You're right in what you said. Because Leicester did it, everybody's like, well, if they can do it, why can't we? We should have done it that season. We're better than Leicester. We're doing this. Well, obviously not.
Yeah, I mean, in your point there, we were obviously fighting for Premier League 16, 17 season I'll go back to. So not signing anyone for 18 months has obviously put us back, which is where a lot of this anger and expectation comes from, and now why it's completely out. So we should have tried.
Can I just add to that? Can I just add to that? When we bought the likes of the players that we bought, you look at Tanguy and Ndombele, Giovanni Lo Celso, they cost us nearly £100 million between those two. Significantly, that's what's caused us the problem. We've made wrong signings because you looked at those two signings initially and thought, wow, they're worldies, particularly Tanguy, but it's not worked out. Whose fault's that? Is that the board's fault, or is it the coaching? Is it down to the scouting? It's a combination of all of them things, because the scouting should have looked more into his history about this player and bringing him to the Premier League and to bringing him to Spurs. But it's not like we ain't gone out and bought certain players. So I understand about the 16, 17 and not buying for 18 months. That, again, could have been rectified. But when we did come to them buy players, we spent money. We spent nearly 60 million and give this guy 200 grand a week. Come on.
I've always disagreed with the people saying Levy doesn't spend money. It's just spent on the wrong players, like you've mentioned there. A few comments to get into. Darryl, just here, if Conte wants them, then why didn't he buy in his problem areas? I don't like questioning Conte. Just a bit puzzled. Truth 82, how you doing, buddy? New striker would have settled the nerves a bit. Kane staying fit for May is a big ask. Right wing back also needed fixing. We'll presumably be going up for Adama Traore for the next 15 years, but it is what it is. And Barnabas has said, according to Fabrizio Romano, no more signings for Tottenham. I still think it's a good window if it ends now. And then a couple for Scott. Fair enough. That's your view. I think that's fair to you, Matt. We can have more ambition than that, especially with Conte here. We'll come back to that in a sec. I should have zero ambition with the point in bringing in Conte. We're getting a lot of comments in here. Let me just quickly rattle through. Signing set the tone of the summer, says Darryl, and this window has left me a tad underwhelmed. Truth 82, 16, 17, the difference between us and Chelsea was they bought Kante, we got Sissoko for the same money. Improvement isn't always an issue. I think the issue with that season was that we drew a few games early doors where Chelsea kept winning theirs. And Ryan McFarlane, how you doing, buddy? Poor window. This also affects our summer kitty pool round. I'm not sure it does. Kulusevski's on a loan, and Bentacur was fairly cheap. But Mac, in terms of the right wing back, we're obviously after Adama Traore since since he's been a kid, seemingly. It's been going on and on and on and on and on. And he's gone to Barcelona, similar to Luis from Liverpool. He wanted to go to Barcelona. People call it for a right wing back. I'd like to see Doherty get a real run in the team. I know he's been playing pretty poorly.
I was going to say, to be well, I don't entirely agree that he's been playing poorly. I think when he's been played in his proper position, which was what he played at Wolves, right wing back, I think
that's literally what I was going to say, and you cut me off. Great minds think.
That's because it's the Mac show. But
it's because you're a coach now. You know these things.
It's it, mate. I'm on the start of my coaching side, but no, when he's playing his position, he doesn't do a bad job, and I would put him ahead of Emerson. You know, Emerson's more of a right back than a right wing back.
I think I'd give him a go for the rest of the season. If he then doesn't improve, fine. Then summer look for a right wing back.
We need to, but this is the thing. You've got to remember, and you know. You look at Conte has assessed that team. Conte knows what he wants. He knows what he needs, but also he's an experienced manager. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier. January is the toughest transfer window out of them all. You know, so you've got to be realistic in what you do bring in. You know, so we might not have got another right wing back. We might not have got another centre back. We might not have got a out and out second striker, all right. And I say out and out because of Kulusevski.
All I want to say is look at the teams around us who we're fighting for that top 4. West Ham, I don't know what business they've done.
They signed nothing for West Ham yet.
They were
Arsenal,
wouldn't they? But he's been told he's not going anywhere.
Wolves, have they signed anybody?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, the Toure replacement, the can't remember his name, right winger they signed.
Right. Okay. So
no one I've heard of, no one decent.
Okay, so again, the teams that were in and around us haven't gone out and spent loads to then get them into top 4. Even United.
Which goes to what I was saying beginning, Sam.
100%.
We're now, in my opinion, in the prime position to be looking for that 4th spot.
Yeah,
because we've done something.
We should be. Yeah, we are now in competition. In my head, in competition with Man U for that 4th spot. If Man U, because of all their worries and troubles that they've got going on at their club, and because they ain't got an elite manager, in my opinion, we have the advantage, but we have to take advantage of that advantage, if that makes sense. So the games that are coming up, we have to make sure we win them, take care of them games, and just see where we are at the end of the season, because the summer window is going to be the important one, and that's when he does need to be packed. 100%.
Do you know what? If everyone sat here when the summer transfer window closes, right, and we've done square root of fuck all, or we've only got 2 signings, then I'm, all in. For me, it kind of, don't get me wrong, I didn't reset my Levy perspective. I'm on the outside, but if you look at the fact that he has brought Conte in, there's got to be a reason he's here. They've made these. There's agreements in place, and if we haven't done much during January, which is, I think, based on what like Klopp said about Diaz, if you'd sign him in the summer, you'd go for him in January. Okay, if we've tried and we haven't been able to get those players, or the players we've been linked with publicly, and these 2 players we have brought in have been Conte signings, then for me, this is why I'm sitting here saying I'm not stressing myself too much right now. As soon as we go back as soon as we go into August, as soon as we go into the summer transfer window, this is where I think, with Conte as manager, people have every right to lose their shit on a huge level.
And the only, and I will just sorry, because I don't want to, because I've got the only thing I'll add to that on top of that is the players that we've let go, because a lot of people are saying, we've let go too many and we've only brought in 2. Right. So Tanguy under Conte, how many games has Tanguy played? Not many. How many games did De Celso play? Not many. Gil the same. And who else might have gone out? Dele Alli definitely didn't play many games under Conte. So Conte's played 10 matches and lost 1 and unbeaten in the other 9. So, and not to have them players because their attitudes weren't right or their performances levels weren't right. If we've got 2 players that want to now play for the club and prove themselves, even if it's to prove themselves to go on to a next level, we've got players that want to play for the club. So they will make a difference. If you get rid of that deadwood, which some of them have now gone, I totally think we're going to have a marked improvement in at least the players coming off the bench, if not anything else. Because if you put Lucas on the bench and you start Kulusevski, you know what Lucas is going to give you when he comes off the bench.
Yeah.
Dele Alli coming off the bench, I was like, oh my God, this is it now. Do you know what I mean?
Also freshening the team up, and those players like the Lucas, like the Bergwijn, well, if I don't perform, I'm not coming on, am I? So it's the competition that you get. And Bentacur, if he plays as deep as he is, it gives Højbjerg a rest. Maybe allows Skip to push forward a little bit more. See some good passing recently. A couple of comments as well, Scott. Only chance we have for top 4 is Conte. If he gets top 4, he should get a statue with how poor this squad is. Teams around us have better squads than us, much less need to bring in players. I'm not sure I agree with that. West Ham are a couple of injuries away from really being out of it. Arsenal don't have a striker. Manchester United, if all but new reports are to be believed, they're going to be without a striker soon, and quite likely so. All of that.
Yeah, because Arsenal's got two strikers, haven't they? West Ham's done nothing, but they're still in multiple competitions. They're not going to be able to handle fighting on all fronts. Arsenal, they've cleared out so many people out on loan. They haven't got the backup and the depth in squad that they should have, or they have had. I don't see where Scott's coming from with that. I genuinely don't.
No, but Sam, I know you've got to head off in a minute or a couple of minutes. I just wanted to get your view on this because there was a comment there saying, I don't like. I can't remember what it was now. Let me get the comment up. It was from Darryl. Don't like questioning Conte, but I think all of these signings are ones that he wants. And the reason I say that is because of these going out. We've been trying to get rid of Delhi for a little while now.
Yeah.
Levy's always put the blocks on it. PSG, I think it was last year, and he put the block on it saying he's not going anywhere. Ndombele, he's always tried to get his 60 million pound back, and Lo Celso as well. All of a sudden, within the space of a few hours, all of them are out, albeit Ndombele and Lo Celso could come back because they're on loan. I think that's Conte saying they need to get out and you need to bring the players that I get in. And whether it was Levy who brought the players in, or Paratici, or Conte, or a combination of all three or two, or whatever. Do you see this? Certainly with these three, Conte getting his way and saying, I'm in charge of this team. This is the team I need. These are the people I need out. And it's happened. Or do you just think teams came in for those three and...
No, it's Conte's pushed it. You can okay. We go back to the Amazon documentary with the Tanguy situation. He's been wanting to leave for a number of years now. Daniel Levy didn't want him to leave because it's his biggest investment. Blah blah blah. He's a star player. That
I don't think he wanted to come.
I'm not even sure he did as well. Just looking at the player, his whole body language for the whole time he's been here hasn't been the best. We've seen moments, but any player can give you moments. It's the consistency that you want to see. He didn't give us consistency. But going back to the point, Daniel Levy seemed to want to try and make this work. Conte's coming in. Remember when he came in, I'm going to do my assessment. I've done my assessment now. I know what the problems are. I think Conte looked at the whole squad and thought, blimey, I didn't know it was this bad. But he's now seen why it's this bad. There are players he can't rely on. If you can't rely on players as an elite manager, you've got to get rid of them. He's now got rid of them. I think he's more happy that he's got rid of players that are not going to work for him than he would be just getting any players in and having them still around. Because that's what we could have done. We could have got 2 or 3 players, kept Dele Alli, kept Lo Celso, kept what's his name, Tanguy as well. I don't think that would have worked because them players are still around, not giving all. You have to be collective in this Conte approach. If you're a collective, you have a chance of being successful.
Yeah, I definitely think so. A couple of comments again. Ryan says, we are Kane injury away from not challenging for top 4. I think you could argue West Ham or Declan Rice away from not challenging for top 4. Man United have got a couple of players maybe. Arsenal, well, they're not a striker away because they're all Ariane going out. And
they're a breath of wind. They're a breath of wind away from falling over completely.
There are 5 teams that can get 4th, not seen enough to think we can get 4th. I do have to disagree with that. I think we're right bang in that 4th race now. Whether we'll get it, I mean, getting 4th, being in the 4th race are 2 separate things. But we've got games in hand. Obviously, the Chelsea game was a big...
It's comments like this that, for me, typify the negativity that is the Tottenham fan base.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion. So
no, I am. But what I'm saying is, it's always negative. This is underwhelming. This is this. This is that. Fuck me. We're not going to do this because of this. Rather than looking at what we,
Conte's going to
like I said earlier, right? Bergwijn they're looking at using as a top man. Kulusevski has the ability to play up the top, but Son has the ability to play up the top. Right, so why is it one Kane injury away from us not making the top 4 when we have a potential of 3 other players there who could cover the striker role or the main man role? Son's proven he can already do it. Bergwijn hadn't had much opportunity to do it in a moment, and Kulusevski was doing it at Parma week in, week out while he was there. People need to look a bit further back than, he didn't play for Sweden in the Euros. Oh, he hasn't played for Juve, apart from coming on as a sub, and he played down the right. But it's not the only place he ever played. No. And this is where people, I feel, are failing in doing any real form of due diligence. And they're following the Twitter masses going, oh, well, that's a bit fucking shit, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
So Sam, I know you need to head off. Thanks so much for coming on.
Nice meeting you, mate.
And you guys.
Give yourself.
I'll follow you both on Twitter. Are you on Twitter?
Mate.
I'll followed you off my personal, mate.
Cool. Fantastic. Thank you for having me on. It's been great. See you again soon.
Yeah, and Paxton Road TV, give yourself a little plug where people can find you.
I'll go across to YouTube right this minute, but then come back here as well. Go and have a look, subscribe, and then come back here if you want to as well. If you definitely have to come back here. But Paxton Road on YouTube if you can find us, doing all kinds of things.
Mate, they're not going to come back. The talent's leaving.
we already follow each other, Sam, as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Sam. Been
nice
on a few times. Paxton Road TV, brilliant channel. Everyone on there.
Thanks for having me on, Chris.
No problem.
All right. See you guys.
Take
See you
care,
again.
mate.
See you,
All
Mark.
the best.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and then there were 3. So,
Bloody nice bloke.
yeah, he's lovely. So I've spoken to him quite a few times, been on his channel quite a few times. Really nice bloke. Those 3 outs, Mark, are ones that we wanted out. This one here, Hill. It'd have been nice if he'd gone to a Premiership team, get a bit of Premiership experience. He's gone to, I think it's Valencia, somewhere in Spain.
Valencia.
It's kind of where he came from, so maybe to get his confidence up a little bit. But I mean, it would be good for him to get on loan. He's not getting any game time here. The only other one that I wanted to go out on loan is Scarlett, and it doesn't seem to be the case. He's not.
That's because people will tell you he's our only other backup.
Yeah, but if Kulusevski can play there, Son can play there, and if Kane doesn't get injured and plays every game, then Scarlett's literally an 18-year-old, 17-year-old playing under 23s all season. He needs to go out on loan, but that's a conversation for another day. But Mark Hill, good good for him, or do you think it would have been for another Premiership club? If
I never really give Mac any credit, so I'm going to give him a bit of credit here. He did say
record.
He did say on another stream that he would have liked, if he can't get a Premier League move, he'd rather see him go to a Championship club, and I agree with that. I'd rather him stay in England. There's no real point in going back to Spain. We know what he can do in Spain. I think a Championship move would have been very good for him, because I know there was another one on Tommy's channel today saying, well, if the Premier League don't come in for you, which is true, you can't force a player to go to a Premier League club. But I'm sure we could have found a Championship club for him. And I think that would have been a really good move.
It would have toughened him up.
Yeah, I'd have liked to have seen that. I'd have liked to see him stay in England. He is trying to settle into the country. Then rumours that come out earlier on the week, seemingly bullshit, because he sort of put an emoji out, didn't he? Laughing or whatever it was. So I think it would have been good for him to remain in England, really. But it's good for him to get games, don't get me wrong. But I just think to acclimatise to the English football, the English culture, would have been good for him to remain in the country, personally.
Yeah, I mean, Darryl said another head-scratching loaning to a foreign club. I mean, if they're the only club that are in for you and you want him off your books for a little while to get some experience, there's not much you can do. But yeah, I agree. Like, an English club would have been better. I didn't think of the Championship club, to be fair to you.
Obviously a top tier side, a top tier team, who's challenged up the top end of it. But for me, it would have. He needs battering about a bit. He needs to build himself up, and there's no better league to get knocked the fuck out of. Really, let's be honest. The Championship is one of the toughest leagues. They're all fighting, they're scrapping, and yeah, I think that's where he would have benefited so much from as well. Plus, with the technical intricacies of his game, that was one of the reasons why he was bought. If he could pull off all that in the Championship, right, whilst getting knocked about, he would have come on leaps and bounds to be back in the Premier League.
Well, hopefully he does come on leaps and bounds, gets confidence back, hopefully bulks up in the summer maybe, and then comes back a different player. But there's no doubt he's a talent there. The Ndombele loan is unbelievable, really. If Leon decide to buy him, we get our money back for someone who seemingly has a bit of a bad attitude and has been fairly awful other than a handful of games. Unbelievable if we get that money back. I'm not sure if Lo Celso's a loan with an obligation or option to buy. Deli's obviously permanent with Darius. I'm pretty sure it was Darius on Paxton Road TV before I came on here was saying it's essentially free, and then money comes in due to appearances and performances, which can
it's free or 10 million or something.
No, they come out saying that it's free. If he makes 20 appearances, it's 10 million. But then the Sky come out and said it could potentially rise to 40 million, depending on other things that happen.
I mean, he could go back to his best at Everton, and I mean, that's obviously good for England if he does. I'm not sure, because I think sponsorship, celebrity lifestyle, haircuts are more important to him. I'm not sure.
TikTok.
I'm not sure football is his highest priority anymore, which is a shame, because we've seen what he can do, 4 years ago. But if we can get like 20 million, 30 million for him. It's probably good. We've got someone out who seemingly I don't think wants to be there. And like we said earlier, I can't remember which one of you two guys said it. Conte, it might have been Sam actually. Conte doesn't mess about. He's an elite manager. He wants people there who want to play football.
That sounds like something Sam would have said, not us.
Yeah. And certainly, and that class is with Ndombele as well. Lo Celso, seemingly just injured all the time. He does well for Argentina, but for us, never really happened. So I think they're good 3 outs there, and I think it's Conte saying, I want them out. But Mac, in terms of the buying the ins, do you think that's Conte saying, I want these? Or do you think that's Paratici or Levy going, Conte saying, I want a player who can play X position, and then buy them? Or do you think
I think it's a little bit of Paratici and a little bit of Conte. I think Conte's turned around and said, this is the type of player I want. Given a couple of names, we've gone over, tested the waters. They've probably gone, fuck off, I don't want to go Tottenham. So Paratici's then turned around and gone, well, Conte, listen, have a look at, and this is why maybe it's gone to a later part of the transfer window to get players in. Maybe, you know, he's gone round to Conte and said, listen, just take a look at a couple of videos of these guys. Tell me what you think. And then Conte's turned around and gone, actually, yeah, happy days. Like I say, we don't know what it will or will not be, has been said behind the scenes. If, you know, we're not going to know this. But it wouldn't, you know, I can't see these 2 signings coming in without Conte turning around and saying, yeah, those work for me. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I think so as well. And Mark, I was going to ask a question. I've gone completely blank now. Never happens on Graham Norton, does it?
Do you remember what I was saying earlier, Mark, about people doing due diligence?
No. What I will say, you
obviously haven't done your due diligence to know that I don't do due diligence.
with the Dele Alli thing, just one thing. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you, Chris, and both of you actually. I know for a fact that we had a sell-on clause with MK Dons when he was sold, because the manager at the time was Cole Robinson, who told my stepdad, who was my milkman. No, it's not one of them ones. This is factual.
Who was my milkman? Shagged my sister's dog's uncle's auntie's hamster.
He told my hamster. No, this is true. It's Cole Robinson was the MK Dons manager, and he told a family member, he lives in Milton Keynes, that they have like it's either 25% or 30% sell-on clause, which is the reason that we got such a good deal on Dele Alli. Was it 5 million we paid for him?
Yeah.
So whether this give him away for free and it's done on a pit, I don't know whether that's a way to get round that. Levy always does these bloody clever things, doesn't he? Where he doesn't have to pay out as much money. So I don't know whether that's the reason we've done something there, and that gets out of us giving them any money. I don't know. I don't know whether that clause, like with Gareth, when we signed Gareth Bale, there was also a sell-on clause on that. I don't remember. And then they nearly went into administration, and Levy went there and paid like 5 million or something. So he got rid of that clause. We could have done something like that. I don't know, but that's something to bear in mind, that maybe we don't have to give MK Dons anything now, or maybe the future fees we do get, a cut of that will have to go to MK Dons. So we won't get as much for Dele Alli.
This is maybe why the fee is probably up to £40 million, because if we've got to pay 25-30%, Levy's going to want a good return on his £5 million investment. So, yeah, you know, paying 10 million and getting 30.
And on the Ndombele deal, I'm so happy he's out the door, but I would have liked that obligation to be a bit lower, because I can't see Leon spending 65 million euros on Ndombele.
He got put on, didn't he, playing for them, playing in that league. So if he carries on with that, then they'll think they've just got exactly the same player back.
But this is the thing, Mark. This is the thing, though. Won't they just then turn around and say, well, rip up the previous agreement then? You've only paid us 4 million, so here's £4 million. Shit can the rest. We don't know what we don't know.
No, we don't know the ins and outs.
Exactly, we don't know. We don't, because there's no way Tottenham paid them 65 million euros in one hit. So if all Levy says is give me back what I've already paid you and we'll fuck the rest off, then there's no reason why they might not potentially take him back. Just as a thought.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Time will
the only other transfers out that we made, they're youngsters. They were sold to Blackburn. Jack Clark's gone on loan. I can't remember who to. I think it might have been Sunderland. And Akete I think has gone to Cheltenham or somewhere like that.
That's
but
right,
Mark spelling mistake there. Mark and Day, 1 million, which I was a bit sad about at the time, being that he could have been a bright prospect, but he is 21, so if he hasn't got into the team now, it's fairly old to get into the team. Jack Clark, it's probably, the next 2 seasons will determine whether he gets in or if he's going to go the same way as Markanday. And then Kete, I don't actually know too much about, to be honest. No due diligence there either. But yeah, Mark, what'd you make of those 3?
Mark and Day, I was a little bit sad about, because I'm trying to bribe my nephews to become Spurs fans. They're half Indian, half English. So I was using Mark and Day as a bit of a, come on, lads. He's, I was a bit disappointed with that. But and he was a good prospect, He was one of our, supposedly he was scoring a lot of goals in the under 23s. He looked decent, but let's be honest, was he ever really going to get a shot in our first team? And this is the problem, isn't it? And he wanted to go, and he wanted to go. It's as simple as that. Apparently, we offered him a contract. He wanted to go. He needed to go, and I wish him nothing but luck. I think he got injured, didn't he, in his first game? I think he got a serious injury on his debut. He's out for the season, perhaps, which is a shame for him. But I wish him all the luck. Jack Clark, he come in with that window with Ndombele and Sessignon after the Champions League final. And just hasn't worked out at all, is it? He's had other loans, hasn't worked out. Akete was at Northampton. He done okay there, and they felt that he can go up another level. So let's see. I don't know. Let's see what happens with him.
Yeah, I think though, unlike most windows or any other window, certainly where we got Gareth Bale back, that seemed to be like let's cheer the fans up, let's get them on side, and I mean some of the signings there, like Doherty on paper was a good signing. We just didn't play him in his right wing back position, so you can argue there it's a terrible signing. Made a few bad. Emerson, he's still young, Emerson, so he could come good.
Hold on. The only Arsenal signing is Austin Trusty from Toronto Rapids.
Oh, was that the goalkeeper? Was it a goalkeeper?
He's a defender, and they've loaned him straight back to the club. And Arsenal forward Moller joins Ben Bosch on loan for the remainder of the season.
Mac, and this is a Tottenham pod. Shut up.
No. But this goes back to our previous conversation about the top 4, challenging top 4. They've got nothing coming in that's of anything.
No. I think we've definitely been proactive. Not just the players coming in, but getting rid of the 3 of the dead wood there.
And Chris as well, mate.
Argue that Dele and Ndombele, Lo Celso in this team are dead wood.
Again, I'm not a levy in by any stretch of the imagination. I'm really not, but I do believe in giving credit where credit is due, and when he does something shit, I would say he's done something fucking shit. But it does seem, and I said this in the summer, it does seem that he has taken a step back, because there's no way we'd have got rid of Dele Alli for bloody free. He would have tried to scrimp every bloody penny out of that. I have seen changes with him. We did it by cancelling Aurier's contract in the summer. There is some change going on there.
I think Aurier paid it himself, paid us to cancel the contract.
Did he? I've not read that. I just read it.
Could be wrong on that. I mean, I do agree in a sense there. I think this is all to do with Conte and then pushing it, like Max says. But I mean, Levy has to follow this up now and do it every window. He can't just do it
100%, mate.
So yeah, he has to. He has to certainly in the summer do that and to say, right, Conte, who do you want? Paratici, you go and get it. Here's the money. But Matt, window ends now. Let's say we've got these 2 players in, those 3 players out. For me, that's quite a good window, I think. Summer, if our right back situation doesn't resolve itself in like that's our clear right back, then get another one. Maybe look to get another one. The striker situation. If Kulusevski isn't the playmaker, get a playmaker. But in the summer, what would you be looking at as a Spurs fan in the summer? Because I think we can all agree that January was going to be bits and pieces, and then the summer is where a lot of
I'm happy with what's happened so far. For me, centre back is a big one. Centre back for me is a big position that we need to have that extra. I'd even say extra two. I'd be happy to lose Roden because if he's not broke through now,
Trust you.
yeah,
who?
Yeah,
Just Darryl.
exactly. But we've for me, he's got to go. If he hasn't broken in, it's like Dele can't get. If the three managers can't get a tune out of him, then he's got to go. If Roden can't break into that squad under three different managers, then he's obviously not cutting the mustard. As much as Sanchez looks better with Dyer alongside him, I think that we still need a more established, solid defender to cover that and have Sanchez and as the backup. We'll see what happens towards the end of the season as regards Doherty, but definitely need somebody to be another effective right wing back, whether he becomes number one with Doherty on the bench or he's back up to Doherty. As much as I like Emerson, and I do like Emerson Royal, I think he's got a lot of potential and I think he will adapt. He at the moment he's a right back, he's not a right wing back, so he doesn't. So this is where I think there are flaws in his game, and this is why there are flaws in his game. For me, get a centre back in, look at another right wing back, and depending on how Bergwijn adapts, if he's given the opportunity between now and the end of the season, and Kulusevski, then if those two don't have an impact in the forward role as regards potentially second striker, then the second striker does need to be readdressed.
And Mark?
I agree that we need at least a couple of centre backs. We definitely need a right wing back for me, and we need a backup striker. I know you're very much the creative player, but maybe Kulusevski can be that. I do think at Inter Milan he played two box-to-box midfielders. If we're going to play a 3-4-3, he plays two box-to-box midfielders in that position. So your creativity is coming from your wing backs.
Playmaker, doesn't he? Had Pirlo Pirlo's. He had Fabregas at Chelsea, Ericsson and Brozovic, I think his name.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the.
He had Barella, didn't he? He had Barella at Inter.
Yeah. But maybe Skip can become that because Skip's shown his ability passing, and I think that the Højbjerg off the line against Leicester all came from him threading a ball through Moura, which the keeper read fairly well and smothered it out, and it fell to Højbjerg. What do you think about the goalkeeper situation? Hugo signed his new deal. I think everyone thought it'd be a 1-year deal, and it's 2. So I've got a thing there that the reason for a 2-year deal is that we're looking to bring a keeper in who's going to be our number one, but he's going to be fighting with Lloris in the same way that Lloris forced Friedel out. Rather than, Lloris is off now for our number one. I think it's going to be playing alongside Lloris for a little bit. Then,
I can't hear you over Max TV.
Sorry, even though it's Aubameyang, right? Free transfer. Arsenal have just cut their losses with him. Free transfer to Barcelona.
I'm not surprised. He's 300 grand a week, isn't he?
He's taken a huge wage cut to go, but he's gone for free.
Here's my prediction here, and I hope that I'm wrong. I really hope that I'm wrong. I think they've got Amazon in at the minute, haven't they? I would not be surprised if they go and bid for. I don't know who they could bid for, but like the Isaac at Real Sausage, I reckon they're going to get a player in. I reckon they're going to get a striker. That's my prediction. I'll just leave that. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, a little bit.
And in the last 2 hours and 1 hour and 56 minutes.
Yeah, I think they are. They can't even look on in the background. People don't know about it. Anyway, we did it with Sissoko, didn't we? Unfortunately. Anyway, yeah, Chris. I'm glad Lloris is staying, mate. I know I
think everybody is.
I mean, I know over the years you said about getting Pope in and all that, but I'm a massive Lloris fan, so I'm glad that he's staying, mate.
Yeah.
I've always said you have to spend a lot of money to replace Lloris. That's the problem. Yeah. A lot of money. Unless you get an up and coming, a Sam Johnson maybe at West Brom if he would be willing to come in. Dean Henderson wouldn't be because he wants to leave United because it's the same issue. So I don't know who you could get in to
This is
rival.
the one difference though with Dean De Gea isn't as old as Lloris, which means that he knows it literally is just a case of biding his time for a season, showing the gaffer what he can do, and then
maybe
that's the only difference between being under Lloris than De Gea, isn't it?
It could be the case with Pope as well, that Burnley are in danger of going down. Then he's a championship player, wants to get into the England fold again, go up to Premier League. But I just think that the 2-year deal for Lloris is that they're going to get another keeper in who's eventually going to take over his position, but not completely flat-footed and not completely out of the reckoning. It's going to be similar to how Lloris broke in and got Friedel out when they were both competing, essentially. I think that's the right way to do it. You don't want a Schmeichel at Man United situation where they spent 10 years looking for another goalkeeper, eventually got after about 10 years. But yeah, I mean, it's brilliant that he signed. It should have been done ages ago. It should have been months ago, but better late than never. But I mean, last thing, Mac, we've obviously made these signings. Arsenal have got rid of all their strikers. Manchester United haven't really signed anyone. They seem to have an issue with Ronaldo. If he doesn't play, he gets in a paddy. Pogba is, Dele Alli times 2, isn't he? In terms of
Man United is more like a creche than a football club. But yeah.
In terms of top 4, are we in prime position there, or do you think?
I think if you look at the immediate teams around us, as we were saying with Sam earlier, Tottenham are in pole position for me. Making some signings is better than no signings, and with an upbeat dressing room because we've lost Lemiz in Lo Celso, we've lost Lazy in Ndombele, and the big kid in Dele Alli. Then I think that the atmosphere around the club will start to change amongst the players. They'll be, they'll rather, it's like when I come on these pods, it's like, fucking open his mouth. You know what I mean? It's that kind of roll the eyes mentality when, now those people are gone, mate. It'll give the club a complete lift. And these two players I think are positive. I think they are very positive signings, and I do think that in a lot of ways upgraded to what we have in certain areas. So I think we're in pole position, and we hold ourselves in good stead. It's in our own hands.
Yeah, what do you think, Mark? Getting those players out that Max mentioned there is almost as important as getting the players in. We know from experience, where I'll use Berbatov as an example. If they don't want to be there, get them out, because they're going to be negative for the dressing room. It doesn't matter how much they try to be positive. They want out, so they're going to be negative, or they're not pulling their weight, or they're just lazy, and then they're going to potentially attract other players to be lazy as well. So I think it's been really good business. I would have liked a recognised playmaker, but I say that on every pod that I've been on and every tweet that I send, and for the last 2 years. But I think it's a positive a transfer window. And I said on here, I can't remember who was on, but do something proactive. Don't just sit there and hope you get top 4. Go and try and win and get top 4. I think it was my friend Ben actually on text message rather than on here, who's a United fan who thinks that we're in pole position before the window opened. But in terms of top 4, we're definitely in the race. We've got these games in hand, which could be crucial. But how do you see top 4 and in terms of pole position and the favourites? Who's favourites for you?
I've always said that Man United are the favourites to get it, but I'm just trying to bring up the table now just to have a look. So I think we've got a fair few games in hand on them, haven't we? I'd have to have a look. And also all the stuff, I'm not going to go into all of the stuff that's going on at Man United at the minute, but that's going to have an effect. We all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's going to have an effect on the whole squad. You've got Pogba there, which you just said, whose contract's running out. You don't know how he's behaving.
Has had an absolute shock of a season compared to his previous standards in a Man United shirt as well.
Who, mate? Sorry?
Bruno Fernandes. He's had
he's not been the same. He's not been the same.
what he's done apart from the 2 goals he scored against Villa.
Yeah, and as you say, Ronaldo's a great player, but he's a bit of a knobhead when it comes to, if he doesn't play, he starts kicking off and moaning like a petulant child. And they've got
I also think with them talking about Man United, I always think it's a risk when you've got a manager who the players who aren't playing, who may need to come in, know he's leaving in 6 months. It's like,
I agree, mate.
6 months, and I might get in the team. So,
yeah.
So
especially at a club like that, Chris, where they're superstars, you know, and they go, "Why am I going to listen to this guy? He's never managed a top club. He's only here for a few months. Why is Ronaldo going to respect Ranieri? You know, I like Ranieri. He was one of the ones in the summer when we were linked with every manager under the sun, who I looked into and thought, actually, this is an interesting guy. He looks like a good manager or director of football. I'd like to have seen him coming as a director of football. But I just didn't agree with the appointment for 6 months, really, like you say. I just don't think it was. So, taking all that into consideration, we've got 2 games in hand of them. We're, a point or 2 points behind. Yeah, why not? Why? It is in our hands at the end of the day, and we've got that manager that can do it. So, yeah, do you know what? I think we've got a very good chance. I think we've got a very good chance of making the top 4. Whether we will or not is a different story, but why can we not? We've lost 1 game in 10. Why can we not make the top 4? And I hear we've not played anyone yet and all that. I hear all of that stuff, but it's within our grasp.
Yeah.
Why are you rolling your eyes, Matt? What's that?
I agree. These signings could be a real positive aspect. You get the Deadwood out, 3 of the Deadwood out anyway. It could be completely changing the dressing room. And like you say, with Man United, with everything that's going on there, that could have any number of effects on that dressing room there. And then the other things with Ronaldo and Wagnick or whatever. And then West Ham, they're going to be in Europe. Do you think as well, Matt, just thinking about it, lack of European football, whereas West Ham are in Europe. I think Man United are in Europe.
Yeah, but that's what I said earlier. They still, West Ham are still in all.
So do you think
competitions, aren't they?
Will help us?
Yeah. Well, we've only got to focus on the Premier League and the FA Cup. You know, West Ham have still got the FA Cup and the Europa League. United have still got Europe and the FA Cup. You know, you look at the team. And this is what I said earlier. We're in this, and this is why it's in our own hands. You know, we have. You know, we've added a couple of players to the squad that are going to do well. I'll be honest with you. I'd love to see them make an appearance on Saturday against Brighton. You know, I'm taking me little girl, so it'd be nice to see them be there to see them paraded, and hopefully, who knows, maybe even get on the pitch. I don't know whether they will or they won't.
It'd be good for them to first game is at home in front of the fans,
Don't get me wrong. I think they'll end up just being paraded, and you know, seeing the stadium full of fans for the Brighton game for the 4th round of the FA Cup. But I think we've made. I think we've got every hope. You look at what West Ham have got up and coming. You know, they're going to focus. Are they going to focus on Europe over the league? They're going to try and do both, but one's got to give. What will be the one that gives? Once they finish their European exploits with all the travelling, are they then going to be buggered? Do you know what I mean? They've still got the FA Cup to play. You know, they don't. They've already said, you know, they don't have the squad depth. They don't have the squad depth to be playing in 3 different competitions, let alone 4. But obviously, the Carbo, we put them out anyway. So, like I say, it's in our hands. I think we are in pole position. I think there is enough going on at United to keep them distracted. You've got, you know, dickhead Pogba, you know, who just is the way he is. As you know, Ronaldo obviously said earlier, you've got other stuff going on behind the scenes. I think I do. I think there's just issues in general that are working in our favour.
Yeah, I definitely, you know, I'm positive anyway. It hasn't helped me out with the Spurs in the last 20 years, but I ain't going to change the habit of a lifetime. But I think there's a lot to be positive about. And obviously, because of the lack of trophies and everything like that, and the issues that we've had with, you know, certainly this season with Nuno and then Conte and the Nuno being our 750th manager choice. it's had a kind of negative effect. But I think we've put ourselves in a really good position. We're still, if we win our 4 games in hand over them, we're ahead of Chelsea by 1 point. I know that's very unlikely to happen because you have to win 4 games in hand whenever those games are. But I think that definitely top 4 is within our grasp, and yeah, possibly the favourites with the games that we've got in hand, and we're the only ones who've made kind of positive reinforcements and outs as well, I think. But yeah, I mean,
the Burnley game's going to be interesting because we were. I said this on earlier today. They signed Waghurst, who we were linked with, and everybody slated him. I'm going to watch him at Burnley quite closely because if he starts tearing it up, I thought he might have been an okay signing for us. And yeah, if he starts pulling it out of the bag and doing it for Burnley, then it'll kind of make me stop listening to Twitter as much, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Shit. Oh, we don't want him. Bollocks. He's no good. Yeah. And then, but if he starts tearing it up for Burnley, then I think I'm gonna start like just ignoring Twitter and just looking at the pictures. Stop reading.
A lot to be positive about, I think. Whether that remains to be the case at the end of the season and then in the summer, we'll have to wait and see. But
Chris, just to say, like, there's been a lot of negative comments and everything. But we all want the best for Tottenham. We all want us to sign top players and everything else. But it's just about being realistic about what you and.
I understand the frustration, but yeah, you've got to,
Conte said it himself, mate. I know you were just about to finish it, but Conte said it himself. This is not going to be fixed. If you think it's going to be fixed in one transfer window, then, quite frankly, you're mad. You're mad. I'm sorry. You're living in fantasy land if you think you're going to fix every single problem. And if you are, you're going to be overspending 30 million pound on a player. It's as simple as that. Lamptey, let's say go just bid 50 million for Lamptey. They don't want to sell Lamptey. They might ask for 70, 80 million. Then you're overspending on players, and we're not going to do that. So just be a bit more realistic and think.
I tell you, I'm just going to quote you a tweet. Do any of you guys follow Spurs web Seb Jenkins?
Don't know.
Right. So he starts with a question. Why can't Spurs act like a big club? Hired Antonio Conte. Tick. Got him 2 new players he wanted. Tick. Shipped out everyone he said he didn't want / trust and wasn't going to use. Tick. Set the foundations for a big summer rebuild with loans to buy outgoings. Tick.
Spot on.
That's why, mate.
I think a lot of the negativity and everything isn't helped by the media because they know that Spurs fans are unhappy in the main. So they peddle the fact that Conte is going to walk in February, even though the fact he said it's going to take more than one transfer window to sort this out. So it then feeds into the fans are unhappy and worrying about Conte walking, and then we're in that situation again. So the newspapers don't help. It's the same with COVID. They've been doing that for 2 years with COVID and
scaremongering.
That creates a reaction and stuff like that. And I think if Conte got no signings this summer, no one out, this January, no one in, no one out, and then in the summer the same thing happens again, I could see him walking, 1st September, something like that. But I definitely think these signings in and out have got his fingerprints all over them, rather than it's just Levy's fingerprints and the manager has to make do. I think it's got Conte's fingerprints all over it. And that, I think, bodes well for the summer. Certainly if we can get top 4 and in the Champions League, because then we've got a bit more money, a bit more pulling power, and
spot on.
Yeah. So I think it's positive, and then hopefully we can just make it even more positive in the next 3-4 months. But we could be talking about this for hours and hours and hours over the same thing. But we'll end it there. Definitely have you both back on, certainly this season. Sam as well, who was on earlier. Big thanks to him. But yeah, Mac, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
No problem. And Mark, same to you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, mate. It's good to be back on your channel for sure. We love it.
Yeah, excellent. Great having you on. Always have a good chat. Thanks to Sam as well from Paxton Road TV. Make sure you go and check them out. Hit the like and subscribe. After you hit the like and subscribe on here, All helps the channel. Mark and Mac also have Motion Pod, which is the Raw Emotion podcast. That's wherever you find all your podcasts, so you can check that out.
When we can be asked to do it.
Yeah.
We've got so much. We're spending so much time making these appearances on YouTube. We just don't find the time anymore.
It's a combination. I don't do due diligence. You two don't do promotion.
No, we don't. No.
What's left to say when we do it all on here?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is that. But yeah, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Go check Paxton Road TV out, and I'll be back on Friday. Talking about the game at the weekend, which is the FA Cup game against Brighton. Hopefully our new signings start there. And yeah, hopefully we can crack on to the end of the season, get that top 4, have a really good summer, and then really have a push next season. Until Friday, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Thank you so much for watching, for everybody who participated in the live chat and added comments. Before you go, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Anybody who couldn't watch the live video, you can still catch us on YouTube. Add any comments, suggestions or questions to the comments section on the video. Anybody who's listened to the audio-only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anybody who wants the audio-only podcast, you get this wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter, @Talk Tottenham, you'll find all the information there. We'll be back soon. We're live Mondays, 8 p.m, Fridays, 12:30 UK time. Until then, come on, you Spurs!